Most of us are not living in accordance with natural law because we don't know what natural law is, and we've been manipulated by those who want to keep this knowledge from us. Unfortunately, the knowledge of the brain and psychology has been occulted and leveraged against us for the benefit of those that consider themselves our owners. Now, the human brain has three complexes: the R complex, the limbic, or the mammalian brain, and the neocortex. So we'll look at those. The R complex is located at the back of the head and comprises of the cerebellum and the brainstem. The R complex is responsible for motor skills, motor behavior, instinctive functions, and survival. Now, reptiles, for example, have the R complex, but they don't have the higher functions like humans or mammals. The next phase in evolution is the development of the limbic brain, which is mammalian brain. That is, mammals. They care for their young. The limbic brain sits on top of the R complex and is responsible for mammalian functions and caring for the young. This represents the second evolution. Reptiles don't have the mammalian brain and do not care for their young. The next phase in evolution is the development of the neocortex. The neocortex is what makes us truly human. It's our ability to reason. The neocortex is physically located on top of the mammalian brain and is responsible for higher order thinking, intuition, our understanding of things like mechanics and language. Reptiles, once again, don't possess these facilities. And the neocortex is split into two halves, the two hemispheres, the left and right hemisphere. And there become problems when one hemisphere becomes dominant over another. When we become engaged in chronic overthinking, we become left brain imbalanced, or when we become away with the fairies, we become right brain imbalanced. Left hemisphere imbalance causes the suppression of the mammalian functions, the limbic system. This also results in the R complex, the survival and selfish behaviour taking over. Police and military are organisations dominated by left brain individuals. They follow orders without question, and there are people that like to control others and consider others below them. Right brain imbalance suppresses the R complex and the limbic system, and the limbic system takes control. The person becomes less interested in survival and becomes a victim of emotions. As a result, these people find it hard to behave logically. The brain hemispheres have colours associated with them. The left hemisphere of the brain is associated with the colour red, and that's the colour of fear and control, and the colour of sex and dominance. It's the colour that you will more often see in news coverage and events where there's a lot of excitement. The right hemisphere colour is blue, and that's the colour used by mainstream news, and results from the Western style of education. Controllers want us to accept information and don't question information. They'll use the colour blue, and it creates obedient people who are imbalanced, the person who doesn't want to think critically, willing to take their place in the hierarchical system designed by our controllers, the institutional structure. Brainwave coherence is when the two hemispheres of the brain are working together and functioning correctly in conjunction. This is known as the chemical wedding. The uniting of the two hemispheres results in global EEG coherence, which is the proper function of the brain, and serves to awaken the prefrontal cortex. Global EEG coherence results in truly awakened people. The result is the opening of the third eye and the pineal gland. For the brain to function as it should, one must engage in rational, non-linear, intuitive, creative, and nurturing thought processes. Left brain imbalance can result in ideologies of determinism, social Darwinism, and eugenics. A left hemisphere imbalance results in the idea that physical reality is random and there is no underlying natural law. Left brain imbalance leads to identification with the matter and five senses. This worldview leads to the ideology of social Darwinism, which is a belief of rule by the socially fittest, and a belief that genes control social status in society. It's the ideology of the divine right of kings. An outgrowth of social Darwinism is eugenics, which is a belief in practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of the human population. The Nazis adopted this belief system to justify their persecution of the Jews and other minority groups. The eugenicists of the world are operating through the banking system. The Western education model indoctrinates people towards left brain imbalance. The outgrowth of left brain imbalance include atheism, scientism, moral relativism, solipsism, and people believe that they are God. These people have a controlling, egotistical personality. They accept only the physical aspects of reality and ignore the spiritual side. They accept one's role in their hierarchical system. They believe there's no such thing as good and evil. The result of imbalance in the right hemisphere of the brain is a person who does not think that free will exists, that God determines everything. And this is the opposite of left brain imbalance, which is a belief that there are no underlying principles in govern creation. Deterministic thinking results in the idea that God's laws govern everything in creation and that human beings have no free will. Emotions govern right-brained and imbalanced people. Most people in the New Age movement fall into this category. Mainstream religions as well. It's a mindset of supplication. Somehow, because God or the universe is in control, no personal responsibility is needed. A person stuck in deterministic thinking will find independent thinking difficult. Right brain imbalance also is the belief that God controls everything in creation. There's no predetermined occurrences, no such thing as free will. People bow down to higher authority, religious fundamentalism, people more apt to ignore physical reality and not care about one's situation, addiction, self-loathing, suicidal tendencies stem from this, i.e. not caring about your physical vehicle. People like this are more apt to drift into new age concepts of reality, thinking that everything is fine no matter how bad it really gets because the physical world is not that important. It's someone who will go along with just about anything. Emotional victimhood. Look, neither the left or right brain worldview can result in a balanced view of reality. The core belief of either left or right imbalance is fear, and it won't lead to anything good, no harmony, and no freedom. Psychopaths are often in control of society. Psychopaths make up about 1 in 50 people that are born psychopaths, but that number is much higher when you take into account the nurtured psychopaths, the ones that were created to be that way. The characteristics of psychopaths are: 1. They're aggressive and insensitive. They lack conscience and empathy. The part of the brain responsible for conscience doesn't exist. Psychopaths are highly adept at manipulating others. They develop this quality because they need to know how to manipulate other people. After all, if a person discovers that they are a psychopath, then, well, who would want to live with a psychopath? Because psychopaths don't care about others, they only care about themselves. Psychopaths are so rooted in fear of being discovered and removed from society that they become good at acting. They feign emotions, making you believe that they have the same feelings that you do, that they care. But psychopaths can hide the fact that they do not have social or normal human emotions. They engage in often amoral or often criminal behaviour. Psychopaths develop a deceptive ability to appear outwardly benevolent. They use intimidation and violence if necessary to get their way. They have no problem violating the fundamental human rights of others, but they get others to do their dirty work. At the highest level, psychopaths are dark occultists who do not fight their wars. They get ordinary people to fight their wars on their behalf, and they enroll other psychopaths beneath them in their hierarchical chain of commands, who do their bidding no matter what the consequences are or how immoral their actions are. Psychopaths high up in the military chain of command and top levels of government, the police and the dark occult orders, manipulate and orchestrate events, maneuver people, make people believe there is a problem that must be solved through war and violence. They use the Hegelian dialect, which is a mindset of manipulation, creating opposites. Although natural psychopaths are born that way, so nurtured psychopaths can be created. It's possible to create psychopathic behaviour in people through direct mind control. It's when the brain's neocortex becomes damaged and the person is operating from their R complex, the reptilian brain. This brain damage can be caused by trauma-based mind control, or more commonly, by drug or alcohol abuse. Abusing any drug, including marijuana, will cause brain damage. But a drug that people don't often think about is adrenaline. The body creates adrenaline in high stress situations. Frontline police work in the military are professionals where a person in a high state of alertness and stress is producing a lot of adrenaline. Soldiers and police officers can display psychopathic tendencies in high stress situations.